Welcome to module number 2. In this module, we would cover syllabus area number 2. Syllabus area number 2 would cover principles from sections 2.0 to 2.7 of the guide. So these are the principles that we're going to cover. So these are the sections that we're going to cover. Alignment with organizational objectives is one of the principles. Focusing on functions and required outcomes is another principle. Balance the variables to maximize value. We got to balance benefits versus cost. Applying MoV throughout the investment decision. It is not only something that we do at the start. Value addition could be done throughout the life cycle. Tailoring MoV activity to suit the subject. Learn from experience and improve. And assign clear roles and responsibilities and build a supportive culture. Let's kind of do a bit of deep dive. MoV is based on 7 principles. If you're not using these principles, you're not using it properly. It needs to be fully aligned with the organization's strategic objectives. It should focus on the functions that are necessary and sufficient to deliver the required program and project outcomes. It should engage with all key stakeholders, reconciling their different needs to deliver a balance of benefits acceptable to all stakeholders. It should be applied through all stages of the total life cycle of the program or project, not just at the outset. It must be tailored to suit the subject's environment, size, complexity, criticality, and risk. MoV application should encourage learning from experience to improve performance. And it needs to be supported by effective management, delivered through clearly defined roles and responsibilities and a supportive value addition culture. So these are the 7 principles. Align with organization's objectives. Focus on functions and required outcomes. Balance the variables to maximize value. Apply throughout the investment decision. Tailor to suit the subject. Learn from experience and improve performance. And finally, assign clear roles and responsibilities and build a supportive culture. And let's do a deep dive into each of these principles. Let's start off with principle number 1. Align with organization's objectives. MoV activities must be aligned with the organization's objectives or portfolio strategy to ensure a consistent and contributory approach across all programs and projects. Programs are put together in order to fulfill the organization's objectives or portfolio strategy. Every project within a program is designed to contribute to achieving the objectives of the program. So every activity to maximize value must be similarly linked. Without such coordination, there is a risk that maximizing value within one project is isolated. In isolation could diminish value across the wider program. The second principle is focusing on functions and required outcomes. MoV focuses on what things do to contribute to the required outcome before seeking to improve them. This approach clarifies expectations and stimulates innovation. MoV focuses on defining what programs and projects must achieve before seeking ways in which value may be delivered or enhanced. This ensures that the right questions are asked before leaping to preconceived solutions. Functions describe what things must do rather than what they are. Functions may be arranged in a hierarchical way to express their relationship to the program or project objectives. Those that relate directly to the program or project objectives are termed primary functions. The functional approach is central to articulating essential requirements in program or project. It is also one of the keys to stimulating innovation. Value driver is another term for a primary function and expresses how to create value for the organization in line with its objectives. So on the next couple of slides, we have examples of a functional approach and a value driver approach. So here is an example of a functional analysis system technique that we could use. We could break down a higher function, which are primary functions, into secondary or tertiary functions. This is one of the two main types of function diagrams. And the other one is a value tree. We could represent functions as value drivers. So sometime later in the slides, we would have some examples of value trees. So we could take a particular objective of a project and break it down into primary functions or value drivers. And those value drivers could be further broken down into secondary value drivers, which could be used for design considerations at the product and element levels. So the why approach and the how approach are both useful. For example, when you're using the how approach, you're asking the question, how do we make sure that this particular value driver is taken care of by having these secondary value drivers in place? How do we make sure that these secondary value drivers are taken care of by having these design considerations? And if you're using the why approach, we're asking, why do we need this functionality? Because it kind of caters to a particular design requirement. Why do we need this design requirement? Because it caters to a particular value driver. So you could use a why versus a how approach when we create value trees.